Last week, I took you on the journey of how I became a content creator and then finally hit that record button. In this week's episode, I'm going to discuss how I stumbled upon and started creating additional revenue streams for my business without even knowing what I was doing that led me to leave my full time job.
Welcome to the Rescued and Upcycled podcast with weekly inspiration, tips on trying new techniques, and overall real talk about owning your own DIY business. Now here's your host, Sonnet Ullenbrock.
Welcome back to Rescued and Upcycled. I'm your host, Sonnet Ullenbrock. I want to thank you all for joining me these last 4 weeks as you guys have been getting to know me a little bit better. I have really enjoyed giving you a bit of insight of what I went through and really what all happened to get me where I am today. At this point, though, I had 3 vendor booths, I had my YouTube channel, and things were going really great. I was really enjoying creating YouTube videos and just continuing to learn that whole process. I love trying new techniques and new products. So it was just the perfect fit. I was taking different products and I was creating with those products in my YouTube videos and then putting items that I upcycled into my booth. So it was just a perfect circle. I would go thrifting, I'd find these items, I would then upcycle them on my videos and then put them into my booths. And as I was testing out new products and then showcasing these products for my viewers, in these how-to tutorials, I realized very quick that I was not liking some of these products. I was following at that time, I was following a few other creators. And so when they would try a product or recommend a product, I would grab it and try it out. And I'm like, I hate this product. I don't understand how they are raving about it when the coverage is horrible. It's streaky, it chips, it's like you can't even sealing it, it flakes off. I was so unhappy with so many of the products I was testing, and I just could not justify, upcycling a piece and then trying to resell it on top of it and put those items in my booth. I mean, the item has to hold up. Think about products in your booth. People are not gentle by any means. They're very rough. So if I was using this paint on a piece of furniture, I was using this paint on a small piece or like one of my smalls. And, I do distressing because people are not kind to pieces. Even that, it was not protecting the items enough. And that was when I realized I had to make a change. I had to do a little bit more research and figure out, what I wanted to carry or what I wanted to use in my videos because I did not feel good about. Like a customer would reach out to me and say, "Oh my gosh, where did you get that paint? Or where can I find that paint?" And I was trying to be truthful in my videos. I would say like but I did not want to bash a product either. I was just saying like the product I used today, it didn't have the best coverage or whatever I would say, something like that. But people would still want to buy it. And I just didn't feel good about that. And that was a real turning point of my videos when I determined I was not going to recommend something that I could not stand behind. And that was with anything, like, even, like, if I had an affiliate link, it was a product that I truly loved using and that it was my go-to, like, I love Titebond, so that I could give an affiliate link for. But this all these other paints and some of these other products, I just could not stand behind. So, that is when I was talking to my mom about it, and I'm like, "I don't know what to do. I just don't feel comfortable promoting a product like that. And I'm going to have to start digging into what other higher end paints are out there so that I can put them in my booth and feel good and confident that it's going to hold up when I resell the piece. And then if, customers are asking, I can direct them somewhere." And so my mom said, "Have you tried DIY paint?" And I'm like, "No, I haven't even ever heard of DIY paint." And she said she had actually watched a YouTube video And it was actually Connie from The Painted Photographer, and she said, "I ordered some from Connie." She goes, Sonnet, I love it. I just love this stuff." And so then she took a drive down to Connie's booth and then bought a bunch of paint out of, I think it was actually the hardware store. She has a actual end cap where she carries all the paint. And so she's like, "I went down there and I bought a whole bunch, and I know you're going to love this stuff." I'm like, "Okay, well, I am going to go out and do some of my own research." I love my mom. I totally listen to her for everything, but I also like to test things out myself. So the first thing I did was I just typed in DIY paint. I want to see the colors, you guys. And I fell in love. The vibrant, bright colors, oh, they were so rich looking. I loved them. So then I decided one morning while I was drinking my coffee to turn on YouTube and then just type in DIY paint and see what kind of like how-to tutorials would come up. And then the channel Debbie's Design Diaries came up. And you guys, I feel like kind of embarrassed saying this, but I did not know that that was Debbie Beard. I didn't even know Debbie Beard owned DIY Paint. So I saw this channel and I started watching it. And you guys, I am like, who is this lady? She dances at the end and she is the best storyteller ever. And she creates these amazing, beautiful pieces. I loved how she blended and she would add, I loved her style of videotaping. It was amazing. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm binge watching every one of her videos. I'm just watching every one." And that's what I did. I literally watched one right after another. And by the time I got pretty far in, I finally called my mom and I said, "I think this woman that I've been watching, I think she's the owner of DIY Paint. Do you think she is?" So then my mom started watching the videos and my mom's like, "Maybe." I'm like, "I really think she is. She creates all these amazing videos for it." And long story short, we all know, yes, Debbie Beard owns DIY Paint. Eventually, after like I thought I was investigating or, like researching. And yes, it was, it was just funny that my mom and I are both trying to like Google search this person. And yes, she is the owner. And after that, then I decided I was going to purchase some of my own colors. And that's what I did. I purchased some of the colors that I would love, some neutrals and some bright colors as well. And I brought them onto my channel and I started using them. And honestly, you guys, the moment I started using these, I fell in love. Not only for these vibrant colors, but I love that the way you can blend with the paints. I love that you can add texture naturally with the paints. You can also use a misting bottle and really like water it down a bit and get virtually a smooth surface. And once it cures, it is rock hard. And you can virtually apply it to any surface. So just me testing these paints out, I sold myself on these paints. I just loved them. And that was the moment that I had a little glimpse of, should I start an online store? Should I carry my own product line? And my friend Brendan, which I talked about a lot in the last video, said, "Well, you have a website, but it's just a landing page. Are you able to add an online store?" And I did some research to give you guys a little background about the original website I was using. It is called Weebly. So there's many different platforms. There's like a Wix, Weebly, there's Shopify, Squarespace, there's WordPress. There's just so many different platforms out there, honestly. And some of them are really good, and then some of them are not. And unfortunately, Weebly is not the best website. I was So to give you a little background of that, I then added the online store portion of the website, and it was supposed to link right up to USPS, so I would be able to print off labels and all that good stuff. Well, unfortunately, It was not very user friendly. The rates sometimes were very inaccurate. So it was like sometimes it was dead on, sometimes it was too much, sometimes it was too low. And I could never figure out how to fix it. I literally sat hours upon hours trying to fix this website because this gave me so much stress. I never wanted to charge my customers wrong. I wanted it to be, almost dead on. And it just honestly, I could never get it to work. So, but it was working as good as I could get it. And the thought of changing platforms at that point kind of scared me. So I was like, well, let's just work on the paint. And so what I did is I added the online store we added, and I was quickly approved for the DIY paint. I put it online and I had it at the Yield Goat. It went on the store locator, and once customers found out it was at the Yield Goat, you guys, they came out of the woodwork to buy it. I was having so many sales in my booth. It was phenomenal. And I still do to this day. The sales are great with DIY paint. I promote it there though. And being on, I think the store locator helps, and people know that I'm in like the local Fox Cities area. So I had it there for maybe like 6 months, I think. And then I decided to add it to Antique Up, my second booth. I put it there and I had a very, very good results. Then I added it now to Water Street. So it has now, DIY paint is at all three locations and on my online store. And that was really the very beginning of I kind of was starting to get hooked online. I liked the idea. I loved fulfilling orders. I loved always checking, and every time I'd get an order, I'd ship it out right away. Everything was going great, and I decided at that point that I really wanted to offer another type of product. So I went out and I tried IOD. I had heard of like Prima and IOD, and everybody was talking about IOD being the hot commodity. Everybody loved IOD. So I thought, well, I'm going to try that out. And I ended up getting, I think the first, okay, so I know what I got. I ended up getting Kindest Regards, and then I ended up getting my very first transfer, and I think it was Brocante, maybe. I'm trying to remember what transfer. It was like a beautiful transfer, and then I ended up getting the typesetting stamp set. So I bought these, and I started playing around with them. Oh, and the ink. And it was so funny too. My mom, she comes over and she's like, okay, so you have to season your stamps. And so my mom actually, just so you guys know, is also a big DIYer. And so she is always looking for different products and testing stuff. So she kind of like planted the seed about this IOD stuff and telling me how great it was. And so she already had played around with the stamps. So she comes over, shows me how to season my stamps, how to put ink on my ink pad, and how to use it. And so very quickly, I'm like, this reminds me a lot of like scrapbooking in a way, but for furniture and small home decor pieces. I love it. Um, I had back in the day been a big scrapbooker, and I had all different stamps and stickers and things like that and papers. And I'm like, this is so cool that these sisters created this product or these products for home decor. So I applied to be an online retailer. Unfortunately, I could not have it at the Yield Goat. There was another retailer in the area, but I definitely wanted to start offering it. And so that is what I did. I applied, I was approved, and then I ended up getting that up onto my website. And that started going over really great as well. And it was a learning curve, though, you guys, being just a solely an online retailer, and like getting your name out there to let others know that you offer IOD. But it was really a great opportunity. And then I just started adding additional products to my website. And I just started doing that with products that I tested out. I loved them, and then I added them. So Roycycled decoupage paper was my next product line that I put out there, and you guys, I just found another stockist. I bought a bunch of papers, I tested them out, and it was a learning curve on how to use decoupage paper, but I started loving it too, and I love how DIY, IOD, and Roycycled work so well together. And I just kind of figured I right away, I'm like, this is the perfect trio, these three companies that I'm working with. And they all have really good hearts. They all are really, really great people. And it made me proud to offer products for people that are good businessmen or women, business women. But yes, they like really stand up for their stockists. They are always looking out for their stockists, and they're trying to help us out. And that's what makes them great people to work with. So I really, I got that all up and running. And, at this point, so I had my booths, I had my YouTube, my online store is going really good. And I was still doing a couple shows a year, some bigger shows. So I did one in spring and one in fall. And I was really, you guys, with between all of that, I was making enough to supplement what I had been making at my full time job. So with all those income streams, it would replace my income or my full-time job, what I was making there. And that was when the idea of me leaving my full-time job came about, and it brought me excitement, but I kept backtracking due to fear, you guys. It was the unknown. Like I kept saying all the what ifs. Like, it really was a crutch, you guys. This full time job was a crutch, and it was just really holding me back. But I just kept telling myself that I needed it. My friends kept telling me the opposite. They said, "You don't need that job. You could always find a different job. If you leave and let's say your small business doesn't work out, you can find a different job anywhere. You are so qualified to go work anywhere." And honestly, in the back of my head, like in the back of my head, I just kept telling myself, nope, it's not time yet. It's just you're not ready, you're not prepared. And I'll be honest, I was so scared. The thought of leaving scared me so much. Or when they even said you could start a different job, any job would take you, that scared me too, you guys. The thought of starting over. Now, I was at this job for 16 years, and it's a long time. I worked at a company that they worked with trucking companies and provided safety supplies. And so I worked with some of the biggest trucking companies with their safety directors, and I developed some of the best relationships with these guys. I was invited to weddings. They would send me Christmas cards. I mean, they would call me out of the blue just to see how I was doing. That's how much they loved me. So I think even the thought of leaving and leaving those guys made me really sad because I had developed such great relationships with them. And they would like call and say that like one guy, he's like, I just bought a Pit Boss, and you got to try these recipes. You got to buy a Pit Boss. And it was just really cute. The relationships that you develop over the years of working with these people, yeah, I didn't want to start over. I didn't want to leave that and then have to start over if I failed. And that was the thing. I kept thinking, what if I fail? And like I said earlier in the previous episodes, I really try to stay upbeat and positive and think about positive things. But when it's such a scary step, sometimes it's really hard to think of the positives. Because in the back of your mind, you're always thinking like, this is such a huge leap of faith, Sonnet. And, what if it's not going to happen? What if you can't make it happen? And, we have bills to pay, and I'm still, contributing to the to the family and all that good stuff. And, um, finally, though, you guys, I realized there just were not enough hours in a day. One morning, I woke up and I was so exhausted. I was like burning the candle at both ends. And I realized at that point that if I wanted to continue to grow my business and make it really even more profitable than it was now, I had to leave my daytime job. And again, that scared the death out of me. I kind of went into all the reasons, but it was really that ultimate fear that has been holding me back. So at that point, I just sat down and I just said a little prayer and I'm like, please, like, lead me in the direction, push me in the direction that I need to go. And and it just came to me. Like, I decided before I could leave the daytime job, there were just a couple things that I needed to complete. One of them was I needed to switch my website. I realized that the website platform I was on was not doing me any justice. And so what I did is I sat back or I sat down and I started brainstorming, thinking about what did I want from my website? What did I eventually want this website to do for me? Yes, an online store is great, but what else do I want it to do? And I came up with an entire list of where I wanted to grow my business, what I wanted to, hopefully accomplish. I have all my goals. So I laid it all out. And at that point, I started doing more research about what platform would be the best fit for me. And that is when I determined that I needed a self hosted website for everything that I wanted. So I decided to move forward with WordPress. So I had to basically find somebody because there was no way that I was going to do this. I watched a okay, I did. I watched quite a few YouTube videos, and for like a little moment, I thought I could do this. I think I'm capable. I mean, I've been dealing with this Weebly website for this long and know how to do stuff, and I'm like, I can move it over. And that's what scared me. The moment where my Weebly would shut off and then move over to WordPress, I was like, I don't know if I could do that. If I was starting a website from scratch, possibly, but the whole transition part, I didn't think I was going to be capable of. So I decided to hire somebody from Fiverr. And that was my first and only experience with Fiverr. People like definitely, rave about it. And not that I wouldn't encourage you to try it out, but I read all the reviews and this person was highly recommended. Um, but I feel like I was a little tricked, or maybe I didn't research far enough to realize that he was in a different country altogether, which most of these IT guys are. But we were 12 hours apart. So when it was like noon here, it was midnight there. And the time difference was a huge factor. So he said he was going to do it all for me. And I said, okay, my online store is the most important thing here. So I'm getting orders, every day. So I can't have any downtime. You can guarantee that. Oh, yes. Well, I would get messages back that there would be no downtime. And um, so long story short, the day that it was supposed to happen, I had a friend who was like it was a friend's son and he was over. It was supposed to happen at I think it was supposed to be 8 o'clock. Or 10 o'clock. It was supposed to be 10 o'clock. So he was over at 10 o'clock at night. And that way, when it like flipped, that he was going to be there in case anything happened and to help me with that because he was also like going to school for like website building and it never happened. So we sat there for an hour and he's like, you could tell he's like twiddling his thumbs. He did not want to be there anymore. We was already at my house for an hour. It had not flipped. I messaged these people. I could not reach, they didn't respond. So I finally said, you can go. Then stayed up for hours, you guys, and I kept checking and I kept checking. And I finally fell asleep. And when I woke up in the morning, it was flipped, but it was not active. It was down. I literally freaked out because I had no website. So I went from a totally active website to no website. And I then called, there was an 800 number to call. I called that number for the website itself, my hosting website. And very quickly they determined what the problem was and they were able to get it up and running. So I got it up and running. Everything was fine at that point. I looked into everything. There were a couple items when it flipped over. Some of the prices kind of like got wacky. My customers are great and they pointed them out to me. So I love that I have these amazing customers and viewers that are always looking out for me. So one gal, she's like, "Oh, this price is wrong. It flipped them all. Like the 32 ounce of paint should have been like $33 and it was like 13. It was just little glitches." So I went and I fixed all of that up and got it up and running. And so that was like my main thing. And once that happened, I just felt like, okay, I think it's time. I think I can do this. I got it flipped. I let it up and running for a couple weeks just to make sure, you guys, that nothing else went wrong. But looking back, the switching over the WordPress site or to over to the WordPress website, it was stressful. But then I look back and I keep thinking like, but I didn't die. It was a stressor, but it's done and over with. And I'm very happy with, the WordPress site. And I'm extremely happy now that I've made that change. So it was definitely by far one of my best decisions that I made. And I'm so happy that I did it before I left. So at this point, you guys, I was ready. I was ready to give my notice, and I did. I went in, I gave my notice. Prior to giving my notice, though, I had already bought tickets to attend the IOD conference last year. And my husband's like, "Really, Sonnet? You are giving your notice? You're going to work for a couple days, go to an IOD conference for like almost a week, come back, work like 2 days, and then you're going to be done?" Or whatever it was. It was like something like that. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do? I already had vacation and I have to, they pay you out for vacation, but I'm like, well, I already have this vacation, so I'm doing it. So I went in, I gave my notice, and I was sad, you guys. I was scared and I was sad, and again, just like of the unknowns. And my supervisor was so nice, though. She was so sweet. And she said that she kind of thought it was coming. And I'm like, really? Because it just like, I mean, I had to, kind of jump through all these hoops of my own in order for me to make this happen. So it was interesting that as an outsider that she thought, or she said that she thought she could see it coming. But after that, I attended the IOD conference, which was an amazing conference. And during that time, I just really lived in the moment while I was there and just really enjoyed all of that and took in, all the inspiration from all the creators that were there. Like I was able to meet Annie Sloan, Jonathan Mark Mendez, Debbie Beard. I met her niece, Ellie, the IOD sisters. I just met so many amazing creators. And it just, as I was sitting at one of the tables and looking at them and realizing like every one of them took a leap of faith with their business, everyone. And if they can do it, I can do it, and it just like propelled me to even more. And it just made me realize like everyone takes leaps of faith all the time. And it's just, you just have to like have faith that everything is going to work out. So on May 5th of last year, I left the company that I've been at for 16 years. And this is always, in the back of my mind, you guys, it has always been like my dream to like do this full time. I mean, if you think about it, I have always dreamed to just run since the day that I decided I was going to, create my small business. I always had that little bit of a dream thinking like, oh gosh, if I could do this full time, I would love to do this full time. And when we had our storefront downtown, we were working, I think at that point, I really thought there was a possibility. And then when the building sold, then I had to take a step back. And then things were going so good again with like my booths and my on the road booth. And then COVID hit. And then that had to take another step back. And I just kept feeling like those were all signs that it just was not time. And that it was only a dream, and that it would never happen, that, maybe this was just how it was supposed to be. I was supposed to have this little small business, and and I would have to work a full-time job, just to make, all ends meet. I was trying to like be positive and upbeat, but that's what I kept thinking. And I realized that taking a leap of faith is just that. It's like you need to trust that you'll be fine and that you're going to be in good hands. And I look back and I think that I probably could have done this much sooner, you guys, but the timing just was not right. And I, I just wasn't ready for a change. And maybe that's what it was. I wasn't ready for a change. And the day that I decided to do it, I felt good. I felt so good, you guys. Like I knew in my heart, even though I was still like, there was always those doubts, but in my heart, I'm like, nope, this is the times on it. You're going to do it. You're doing it. And it was the best decision, you guys. Now it's going to be coming up on a year. And I look back and I'm like, I have never been so happy. I may work more hours than I did at the full-time job. But you know what? I was probably working just as many with the full-time job and my small business. I was probably working more. And this is not work to me. I I don't know how to explain it. Like I feel like what I do, creating content, upcycling, having my booths, just like interacting with all my amazing viewers. I feel like half of them are my friends. This is not work. It's so enjoyable and I love it. And since leaving my business or leaving my full-time job, my small business has grown leaps and bounds, you guys. And look what I've all accomplished in a year. I've officially kicked off this podcast. I am now launching my Makers Box, which will be coming out May 27th. And I am hosting my own event in October. And that will be definitely an upcoming episode. I want to talk about Cranberry Fest and then the event that I am hosting and why I made that decision to create my own event. Because that was a big eye opener in last fall. In October of last year. That was definitely an eye opener of, it's like sometimes you just get hit hard to make some changes in your life. And that was a moment where I'm like, I can't do this anymore. It was very rough. The whole event was really rough. It was rainy, cold, snowy. It was windy. You couldn't drive on the grounds. So that's just a little like that's what, propelled me to do my own event. And since then, I've also added some additional products to my online store. So now I have the full line of Sweet Pickens. I have Fusion Milk Paint, or Fusion Mineral Paint. I do have their milk paint as well. So I have all of these amazing products, and I really just can't wait to see where the next year is going to take me, what's going to happen next. And I'm really excited to continue this journey and to bring you guys along with me. I really, truly feel so blessed every single day, just to be right here, right where I am. And I owe a huge thank you to all my viewers, for watching me, for listening, supporting my small business. I could not be doing what I do without all of you guys. And I try to thank you guys, more than you guys. I try to say thank you as much as I can. And I just want everyone to realize how important each and every one of you are to me. So, that is really this week's episode of really how I opened up my online store and then was able to create that extra income stream to leave my full time job. So it's been a dream, and it definitely came true. So in next week's episode, I am going to be conducting my very first interview, you guys, with my good friend Kristen Reed of Simply Joy Creations by Kristen. She is so talented, you guys, and very well known for her mixed media art. So what we're going to do is we'll dive into how she decided to start a vendor booth, and then really go into mixed media and how, what advice that she has, for being all you new booth owners. She'll give you some advice, I'm sure. And then her mixed media. I want to definitely dive into the mixed media piece because she is so crazy talented. So, for all of you that are listening on any of the podcast platforms, do not forget to rate, review, and subscribe so you don't miss out on an episode. If you are watching over on YouTube, definitely give this a thumbs up and share this with a friend. Let me know what you guys are thinking of the podcast so far. I'd love to hear future topics. I have quite a bit of a content calendar already prepared, but I'm always open to ideas and suggestions for future topics and future guests. So if you want to find me on other socials, definitely look on Instagram and Facebook at Sonnet's Garden Blooms, where I do post a whole lot more content over there. And I want to start planning like sneak peeks of upcoming episodes. I really hope you guys, though, enjoyed today's episode, and we are going to see you next week. Bye.